So why haven't you left?
Been waiting for the right opportunity.
And?
Here, check this out. Look at these sons of bitches. Every day they congregate down there, guarding that damn bridge. Come nighttime, it's down to a skeleton crew. After sunset, that's our window. Most of them gone, sneak right past them.
That could work.
Oh, it'll work. It'll definitely work. Wow.
All
right, ready?
Ow.
A blueberry hurt you?
It's been a while since that boy even cracked a smile. She doesn't seem bothered by all this.
On their trek across America in The Last of Us, Joel and Ellie meet a lot of interesting characters, and more often than not, those meetings don't end well at all. But of all of them, it's hard to think of someone who suffers a worse and more heartbreaking fate than brothers Henry and Sam. The parallels the game draws between them and Joel and Ellie and the relationship between the two pairs are fascinating. Their portrayal is typically rock solid, and the resolution to their stories, simply put, is downright depressing. By the time the cordyceps infection broke out and ravaged the world, Henry was only 5 years old. So technically he wasn't born post-apocalypse, but he doesn't really have a lot of memories of the world before things went to hell. When he was 12 years old, his younger brother Sam was born, and beyond that point, not much else is really known about the pair. We do know that they were in the quarantine zone in Hartford, and that the two of them were among the group of survivors from the QZ when the military abandoned it. That group, in its search for refuge and survival, entered Pittsburgh at some point, a city almost completely overrun by brutal bandits known as the Hunters, and Henry and Sam were eventually separated from them at some point. What Sam didn't know, what Henry didn't tell him, was that the other survivors had been killed by the Hunters, and the two brothers were the only survivors left. While the two were hiding out in an apartment and looking for an opportunity to escape the city, they met Joel and Ellie. Joel and Ellie, who were also hiding from the Hunters and looking for a way out from Pittsburgh, entered the apartment that Henry and Sam were hiding in by chance. Henry, believing Joel to be a hunter, attacked him at first glance, but Joel quickly got the upper hand in their scuffle. While the two were locked in a struggle and Joel was wailing away at his attacker, both of them eventually saw the younger people both were accompanied with, and came to the realization that they were not hunters, and that they meant each other no harm. With both pairs working towards the same thing, they decided to work together in order to escape Pittsburgh, even though Joel, predictably enough, was reluctant to do so at first. Not long after their meeting, a single scene in The Last of Us very effectively established the kind of relationship Henry and Sam share with each other. While the group was cutting through a toy store to get to a safe place where they could put together a plan to flee from the city, Henry spotted Sam fiddling with a toy. But Henry very bluntly reminded him that they only take what they need. Everything else is a luxury, an unneeded burden, and they cannot afford any of that. Never have, never will. Dejected, Sam left the toy in the store. As mentioned, it's a simple scene, but it's effective. Sam's a kid after all, but he's forced to survive in this harsh reality, where even a simple moment of playing with a harmless toy is not allowed to him. Henry, on the other hand, is doing all of this to ensure his brother's survival, but in doing so he's veering into the territory of being overprotective, to say the very least. Like Joel himself, Henry is having to be a parent to a child he was never supposed to be a parent to. That night, Henry told Joel that before the two pairs had met, Henry was planning on leaving the city with Sam through a gate that was being guarded by a bunch of hunters, and that once they made it out, they would head west to look for and join the Fireflies. Obviously, Joel had no intention of joining the Fireflies, but he was looking for them to deliver Ellie, so it was in his interest to work with Henry. The two decide that they would make their escape through the gate that night, when it would only be guarded by a skeleton crew of hunters. As you may have guessed, things did not exactly go to plan. Though they successfully managed to kill the crew, they couldn't do so without drawing the attention of more hunters, and backup arrived quickly. In the chaos, Henry, Sam, and Ellie climbed up a ladder on top of a truck blocking the way to the gate, but just as Joel was about to climb up after them, it broke. Understandably wanting to ensure Sam's safety above all else, Henry had no choice but to leave while they still could, while Ellie jumped back down to help Joel in any way that she could.
We stick together.
Seeing no other option for escape, Joel and Ellie had to jump off of a bridge into a rushing river below, and Joel quickly lost consciousness. Soon the two were spotted by Henry and Sam a distance away, who quickly rescued them and pulled them out of the river. Upon waking, Joel attacked Henry again, accusing him of leaving them behind, but Henry calmly told him that his priority was ensuring Sam's safety. With Ellie talking him down, and with Henry telling him that he would have done the same if the situation had been reversed, Joel eventually relented. The group soon entered a sewer to find a way off of the beach and make it to a radio tower on the outskirts of the city. The sewers, as sewers often are in horror games, were a harrowing journey, forcing two odd pairings of Joel and Sam and Henry and Ellie, with the four of them being separated during an attack by the infected. The four eventually managed to reunite, and after surviving an onslaught of clickers and runners by the skin of their teeth, they made it out of the sewers. Their troubles weren't over though. They were once again attacked by hunters, and the attack soon attracted the attention of infected in the area as well. And though the four of them were able to make it out, the encounter would go on to exact a heavy toll. But we'll get to that.
How is it that you're never scared?
Who says that I'm not?
What are you scared of?
Let's see. Scorpions are pretty creepy. Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone.
That night, Ellie tries to bond with Sam, handing him the toy that he had been fiddling with back in the store in Pittsburgh. But Sam was acting cold and distant. We would find out why soon enough. At the same time, Joel and Henry bonded over the former's memories of riding Harleys with Tommy as well. If there's one thing that we can be sure of in The Last of Us, it's that moments of happiness and calm are usually followed by moments of heartbreak and disaster. You see, when they were attacked by the infected in the city's outskirts, Sam got bit, and by the time the next morning rolled around, he had turned. He attacked Ellie, and just as Joel pulled his gun out to shoot him, Henry pulled his own gun on Joel, telling him to back off. Numb and shattered, Henry took a moment to realize that his brother was gone before shooting Sam and killing his infected brother. Immediately afterward, he pointed his gun at Joel once again. Clearly shaken as he was, Joel put his hands up, telling Henry to calm down, that this was no one's fault. But Henry wasn't listening. He kept telling Joel that this was all his fault, or maybe he was saying that to himself. He pointed the gun at himself and then pulled the trigger.
It's all your fault, Henry. Henry, no.
So, yeah, Henry and Sam are conclusively dead, and they obviously won't be coming back in The Last of Us Part 2. But the impact they had on Joel, and especially Ellie, cannot be overstated. The deaths of the two brothers left their mark on Ellie and changed her, which was clear to see in the first game itself. And they were far from the only deaths that weighed heavy, and likely still continue to weigh heavy, on her conscience. With a time jump of 5 years separating the upcoming sequel from the first game, it should be interesting to see just how much Ellie has continued to change, and whether Henry and Sam will still continue to have any bearing on the story, even from beyond the grave. Thankfully, we don't have too long to wait though, because The Last of Us Part 2 is less than 2 months away. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.